I'm Thomas Goss, the composer of the song Across the Red Sky. This poem has always been a favorite of mine, though in some ways it's a bit atypical of Catherine Mansfield's work. It reminds me a bit of the poetry of Stephen Crane, vivid but economical imagery with more than a touch of the macabre. But, of course, it's also got that abundant yet bittersweet vitality we see in other poems like Spring Wind in London. Across the Red Sky feels timeless to me, easily a poem that could be mistaken for the work of a living poet of the 21st century. It's altogether charming that a comment in a poetry webpage leaves a message for Mansfield as if she posted it recently. The only program note I could provide is to call attention to the roles of the different parts. The piano is the call of the birds, their sense of motion, and the color of the landscape. The vocal line is the emotion, and the meaning of the words and more than just the singing of lyrics. Anything else belongs purely to whatever inspiration Mansfield channeled through me. I was merely the servant to her mastery of imagination and mood.
Hey everybody, I'm Yvette Ordain. For much of my life I've been a composing woodwind player. However, in recent years I've been taking the opportunity to upskill as a vocalist and pianist, which has pretty neatly fed into this project. I've set the poem Millard, which Sherry recommended me, and that was a lot of fun. Plus I think it's been quite well received by audiences, I hear, so that's always good for a composer to hear. It kind of starts with a bit of a witty, whimsical vibe, a bit of a tango feel, but as soon as that's kicked off, the pathos starts to kick in a little bit more as the metaphor of the two roosters calling to each other from faraway farms comes along. Enjoy. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Tessa, and thank you, Catherine Mansfield.
Kia ora. My name is Peter Adams. I'm a composer and conductor and an academic at the University of Otago, based here in Dunedin. I was delighted to be asked by Sherry Grant to contribute to her program of new works for the Catherine Mansfield Centenary. I chose a poem called The Secret from the 1911 to 1913 collection of many poems that Catherine Mansfield wrote. The Secret's a lovely short little poem that talks about the profoundest ocean and the rainbow shell. And this rainbow shell is a permanent fixture. It's always there, whether in storms or whether in gentle ripples of laughter, waves gently lapping. And so I set this very simply in a piano setting that's quite modal and utilizes some little arpeggio semi-quaver figures that are the ripples of water. The middle section turns it upside down, puts it into 7/8 time, and just creates a little contrasting section. I tried to keep it very simple. The voice sings, there's a mention of the word singing in the poem as well, and the piano is very much the water in a very simple little setting. So I was delighted to write this for Tessa Romano, my colleague here at the University of Otago, who sang it, and for Sherry Grant, who played piano and of course is such a dynamo in getting things happening. So congratulations to you, Sherry, for a wonderful program. Kia ora.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Young, and I was delighted to be asked by Sherry Grant to contribute to her Catherine Mansfield project. I'd not actually previously read any of Mansfield's poetry, so I popped along to the splendid university bookshop here in Dunedin and purchased a copy of her complete poems. And in reading through them, one particularly caught my eye. The World is Beautiful Tonight. In particular, it presented an emotional dichotomy, which I found very, very appealing, not because it's just such a good poem, but also it represented good musical possibilities. And so that's the one I decided to set, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Kia ora, everybody. I'm Ben Fernandez, Auckland-based pianist and composer. I'd like to thank Sherry Grant for inviting me to compose a tune based on the poems of Catherine Mansfield. Catherine played the cello, and her sense of musicality and rhythm comes through very strongly in her poetry. I chose the poem Covering Wings because it has 4 sections of almost equal length from a rhythmic perspective. The first time I read the poem, a tune popped up in my head almost instantly. and I decided to record it. So I recorded it on my iPhone and sang and played as I was reading the lyrics. I then transcribed what I had recorded and did a few tweaks to the melody, but that was pretty much it. And I do have the original recording on piano if any of you would like to listen to that. I'd like to thank a singer friend, Riyadh here, for her help in and suggestions in phrasing and note grouping for this tune. In song form, this tune is like a jazz ballad, and it has two verses followed by a bridge and then a final verse. This tune tries to convey a feeling of searching for love, for acceptance, and for understanding. Each section has a constantly changing key center, and that signifies us dealing with change and trying to find our way in life. But it finally returns back to the original key in the last verse, and that in a way is like a homecoming. This tune has a playful nature, and it also implores us to find the inner child in each of us. I would like to thank Tessa Romano and Sherry Grant for performing this tune, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. Thank you.
Hi, this is David Hamilton. It was a great pleasure to be asked to be part of Sherry Grant's Catherine Mansfield project. Having set a number of Catherine Mansfield's texts in the past, both chorally and as solo songs, I was keen to avoid resetting texts that I'd already looked at, and some of those had been already allocated to other composers anyway. In looking through Mansfield's output, I discovered that she wrote a set of children's poems very early in her career. These have a charm and artlessness that were very appealing, and I was quite keen to do a little set of pieces, so I wanted something quite short. The poems have the same kind of ring to them that the poetry of Robert Louis Stevenson and Walter de la Mare has. In the end, the songs that I chose, This Is Just a Little Song, The Lonesome Child, and A Day in Bed, all have a slightly wistful and at times rather sad quality to them. Hopefully my settings are simple and reflect the simplicity of the language in the texts. It was a delight to be able to write for Tessa and for Sherry, and I'm always happy to write again. A great project, and I was delighted to be a part of it.
Hello, I'm Ross James Carey, composer of two poems of Catherine Mansfield for the KM100 project. Being involved in this project resonated on so many levels for me, not the least being that, like Catherine, I'm a native Wellingtonian, but also that we've both lived for long stretches overseas, and of course Catherine died abroad in France all those years ago. Place, memory, distance, yearning, longing for that which is gone, grief, flights of imagination, the natural world, the spaces in between. These seem to me to be the topics which Catherine explores in the two poems I've said, There is a Solemn Winter Night and Sea Song. Having these songs premiered by Tessa and Sherry in Dunedin, where over 180 years ago now my Carey ancestors came and settled at Carey's Bay in Otago Harbour, was very special for me, as was having the opportunity of a subsequent performance organised by Nigel Kay by a New Zealand mezzo-soprano and French pianist at Avon in France, where Catherine died. Composing my Catherine Mansfield songs has also led me to further interest in writing art song, two further song cycles, poems by Indonesian poet Rina Ombara and New Zealander Margaret T. South, the latter exploring her travels in Xi'an in China. Finally, I'd like to offer my sincere congratulations to Sherry on her Catherine Mansfield Festival and wish her and all the participants all the very best.